Here at the Public Art Commissioner regular meeting for July 20th, 2023. And I'd like to call to order the meeting. First thing I'd like to do is make roll call. Commissioner Miyagi,
Here. Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
And in addition, we have Commissioner Waltok, who is participating remotely under AB 449 for Just Cause. Commissioner Waltok, can you provide details?
Yes, I am here, and I must disclose that there is no one else in the room with me. And I'm present.
Thank you, and present as well for me. Do we have any member of the public here to make comments on matters not on the agenda? Okay. Right. Do we have any agenda changes, additions, or deletions?
No, we do not.
Okay. And I guess the next item is approval of minutes. Next item is approval of minutes. Do we have any motion for approving the minutes from May 18th, 2023?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. Second.
Great. I'm gonna take roll call. Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Waltok,
Yes.
and yes for me as well.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any city official comments?
We do, and we have lots of eye candy for you since we did not meet last month and we've been very busy, including last night. We had this community meeting for Fire Station 4 with artist Stephen Galloway. We held it at Mitchell Park, which is adjacent to the fire station. We had pretty good turnout. They got to see the model of the fire station, hear a little bit about the project and the architecture from our public works team. And then Stephen showed a number of slides about his artwork and talked about his art process, his design development, and gave a little bit of a sneak peek into some of the fabrication options and challenges that he's had along the way, and brought some material samples, which I think our guests really enjoyed. But the meeting ran almost 2 hours and people were really engaged. It was great. So next, Nadia has been hard at work getting some maintenance projects done. So you may recall that the commission approved funding for Birdie's restoration a few months ago. So Birdie has flown back after a summer vacation and is brighter yellow, and the corrosion is all gone, has been freshly painted, and those flaps are freely moving in the wind again. So Birdie's like new. Martin Webb came out to touch up both of his pieces. This one is at the entrance to the water quality control plant and the household hazardous waste facility. So he did a little touch-up paint there. And then this is the mural in the outdoor education area. And you can see that area where the mural in particular was getting more sun exposure and really blanching. So he went in and did some repainting and resealing of that area. And sort of did some touch-up work on the overall mural, but it's holding up very well. And our Colin Selig orange bench also took a little tour this summer and is now back in place, looking like new. And Excel, which is on the front wall of the art center, was carefully dismantled and taken down. The gentleman on the left in that slide who's working on the restoration actually knew and worked with the artist all his life, and the artist had willed many of the tools to him. So he knows intimately how the artist works and is taking great care to make sure that it all is honoring his intent and style. So all of those tubes are being meticulously cleaned. A couple of pieces needed to be reblown, new transformers, It's being rewired, so there aren't as many wires snaking up between the bricks, between the elements, so it's gonna come back looking much cleaner. It's a complete restoration, and that's it for staff comments.
Non-action items. First is California Avenue District mural. The staff is to provide a recap of the mural event for the 3 new temporary murals painted in California Avenue District from June 1st through the 9th.
Thank you. So we have some slides we wanted to show from the event, sort of artist by artist as they went through. So this is Liv Losi Unger on the side of Izzy's Bagels. This is day 1. Here you can see she's doing more of the painting and doing the sort of the darker shadows in there. And there you see the flowers coming in, and during the farmer's market, the artists were on site almost every day of the 9 days. A couple of them had to take a day or a half day off, but they were on site the whole time, and members of the public really enjoyed sitting there, watching the murals take shape, asking questions of the artists at all 3 sites. And then there's Liv with the finished mural. And then Nicole Ponsler, who did the project at Palo Alto Central down by the fountain. She had a lot of visitors. In fact, we had quite a few people who came every day from the community, some of them older with walkers that then they could sit on site and then talk for a little bit, and then they'd sort of move their way back through the murals and back home. So lots of visitors, people left flowers and coffees and just anonymous notes of appreciation for the artwork. And there she is during the final artist talk and walkthrough, which was extremely well attended. We had 40, 50 people there. It was really great. So here's Paz as she started and putting down her primer on the street there. And so she did the chalk, and then she did the primer, and then here she is putting down some of the line work in preparation for the community painters who came in and all did the various leaves with the shadows. You would think it would be a quick process because there was so much layering involved. It actually was, it took a significant amount of time for each of those leaves to get painted, and people really took great pride and ownership in executing those. And we were fortunate it was not boiling hot. There's Chair Shen. So, and there's a group shot on the right of some of the volunteers who painted. It was an incredible group of people. We had people who were quite elderly, who were game to sit on the hard concrete floor for hours at a time and paint. We had lots of youth, and we had everything in between. But people were really supportive, really enjoyed being part of it. And yeah, so this is part of the group on the tour as we walked through on June 9th. It was really fun. There was a lot of just fabulous feedback. Anyway, it was a good time. We had a lot of great feedback. And there we are with staff and Chair Shen and the 3 artists. And these artists really bonded over the course of the 9 days, got to know one another, supported one another. And I think they're going to be lifelong besties at this point. So we really wanted to sort of raise this as an opportunity, just have an initial discussion and reflection between the commissioners who were able to go and see them or be part of it. And at the retreat, we will be talking about next steps. You know, what do we want to do this again? Do we want to keep it a festival in a more finite area so it creates more of a vibe in an area, or more spread out? So those are all options on the table, but we just wanted to put it on while it's fresh in everyone's mind so you all could share your experiences.
Can I ask a question? Oh, sorry. Yes.
Please.
I'm wondering how it was received by the other, there was a lot of discussions with other business owners, and they were hesitant for one reason or another. And I'm wondering if after it took shape and with so much community involvement and positive feelings, if any other businesses came forward and said they'd be interested in the future of participating.
We did have one on California Avenue, who came forward and said, yes, she's contacted her property owner, if this opportunity comes around again, that she's definitely interested. The property owners who were more hesitant, we haven't reached out to them because we don't know that we're offering that in Cal Ave yet. So we're waiting until after we have that retreat and then can reach out to them if that's what we decide we want to do.
I thought
Thank
I
you.
had heard that one of the right by the Marigold mural, there was a property owner that said they have additional walls they'd like to offer up. Maybe I heard that incorrectly.
It's the same property owner. They just said, well, we love the mural, but it's a great big building and we have more walls. So so there is that. Thank you for reminding me.
Couple of additional maybe observations. All three of the artists spoke very, very highly of the preparation and the support that our staff provided. In fact, I think one of the artists said that this is going to be really difficult to go to another city to paint murals. They felt like there was just it was so planned out so meticulously by the staff. The space was carved out, it was protected, the walls were cleaned. So all they had to do was do their work. And I mean, as silly as that sounds, that seems to be a luxury. So thank you for supporting the artists in all the ways that you have. And the other thing that was delightful to see was, and maybe this was unexpected and maybe it was expected, even though these three artists were selected individually, there's a lot of chemistry between how they interacted, as well as how their work echoed one another. People, I think when we were previewing the design, particularly for the moonflowers, people were, kind of baffled in a way. They're like, oh, is this a local flower? And that is actually one of the topics that has generated a lot of positive response because according to the artist, well, moonflowers are a flower that blooms at night. They bloom amongst us. And it's reminiscent and it's actually a sort of a reminder to celebrate and acknowledge all the workers in the community that works while we're sleeping. So.
Unfortunately, I could only attend one day of the painting, and the one day was wonderful. And I think when this was first brought up, I was one of the ones that was a little hesitant that they were all floral, but I think it really turned out well. And I hope this is a springboard for other murals around the city, and not necessarily floral, but I think this gives an idea of what can be done with either on the street or on the walls. And I think this is a great start. And we just want to keep this going. And I know there are other places that murals can be put up. I think this is a great start, and I commend staff for a great job.
Well, thanks to all of you commissioners who came out to really help and deal with the public and run coffee to artists and, offer some protection. We neglected to show this slide. This was a flash mob this past Sunday of swing dancers that have now taken that this site has been used sort of as a stage now. So we thought we would share that too, that the love for the street mural is it's really serving its purpose for placemaking.
I love that. And I went one day early on, and what I loved about it is the day that I was there, it was a late afternoon and only Paz was there and there was no one around. And so I just sat and had this nice long conversation with her. And I just loved, and I had just been the day before to, I think it was Central Napa. I was there dropping off my son, and her mural was all over that central square, and she had just finished that and come to do the one in Palo Alto. But it was really nice to chat with her, and it just reminded me that, and as you've all said, and the dancing picture shows too, that it's such a community builder, just the accessibility of, like, with hers being right in her mural, you're actually like sitting and standing inside her mural. And it was just so inclusive and community related. And I think that's one of the tenets that our commission aspires to, from our work plan and everything, is to really involve. And I think this did that well.
Next item. Okay, the next non-action item is a staff update on the development of the Code Art Interactive Media Festival and the 7 feature temporary installations.
So while staff is in contact with these artists and our event coordinators on virtually a daily basis, and we recognize that the concepts for the urban interventions came to you in February for approval, and they're just that, they're concepts. And so we've been working with the artists to up the interactivity and really sort of push a little bit on them. So we wanted to give an update. It may be a refresher on some of them. Some of them are new images because, for instance, Rural Hayes' project was a written description and there wasn't much to show. So now we have a few things to really show you to get you updated. Code Art is less than 3 months away, so we're starting to kick into a higher gear here. So, quick reminder, and for anyone in the public, Code Art will be October 12th through 14th from 5 to 10 p.m. in downtown. Some of them will be placed in sites that we've utilized in previous years, and some are different. This year, the major interactive artwork will be here on King Plaza. And then we have 6 urban interventions sprinkled throughout downtown. We will have nightly public tours and programs. So we've already secured a few partners with local galleries and businesses who want to host events over the course of those 3 nights as well. And so the artworks are intended to activate underutilized spaces, invite interaction and play, and of course, have a strong night presence. So here is, I'm not going to read it. Here's the whole list. Nate Moeller is the anchor artwork, and the rest of them are our urban intervention teams. And so you can see we've started working on our print collateral and our map there too. So this year, Code Art is a little more tightly bundled. So the installations aren't quite as spread out. And the hope is that some of those that were kind of outliers the last time won't be missed by anyone. It makes it easier and more walkable for people to find them. And so this is still a conceptual rendering by Nate Moeller. He is still working on, he thinks he's figured out the material. He has figured out the fans. They have figured out the electrical outlet or layout. They are working on what kind of patterning, if they're going to be hand dyed trees. And so they are going to be in a circle on the plaza. They are going to have these lit up roots that will talk to one another. The fans are very quiet fans that are used. Of course, he's based in LA, so they're used on movie sets and on TV sets when a sudden wind comes up without making all the noise. So, so we're really looking forward to seeing the way this continues to evolve. He's doing a lot of testing. We think he's right on schedule, and we're really excited to see the way these come out. So interactive flow fields by Stephen Wallace. This piece is going to be on Ramona here, right in that closed section, kind of in the middle of the street near where Pamela Walsh Gallery is, between there and what was the bar there? The Old Pro, thank you. So there will be space for people to spread out because the street is already closed to interact with the piece. And Pamela Walsh Gallery has also said they will have some sort of new media project either in the window or stay open late one night and have an event there. So that's kind of fun. Jeffrey Yip is one of our returning artists, Ripple. And so this piece, originally it was just with different sound pitches and the way the sound pitch would affect the way the table rippled. Now he's added an interactive component so that people's presence will change the ripple and the sound effect. And that piece is going to go over by where the new Marvel Cakes is, by Centennial Way, where it cuts out on Ramona. And so Newhouse, you may recall before they had the large white inflatable shapes. And we had tried to push a little bit to say, can we make it a little interactive or play with color or something? And they were going to fabricate larger versions of them. And then I guess in the studio, they started playing with the same geometries and came up with this concept, but it will be interactive, color changing, and people can actually sit on them and interact with them. This piece will go on Lytton Plaza and will fit very nicely within that geometry. And then River of Shadows, Corey Barr and Paul Mans, they are also returning artists. They were in the Lane 20 previously behind Design Within Reach. So this time we are planning to close part of that street. So visitors will be out on the street and in the sidewalk on the side of Joya Restaurant. So the projections will take place there. People see their immediate shadow, and then it'll change as your shadow moves away and more recent shadows come in. So you'll have sort of a timeline of visitors move across that wall. And then this is the first time you've seen this rendering too. Rokan Hay is going to be in Faith Bell and Max Smoke Shop Alley. So she's got some interactive bottles that will have different sounds and scents in them that people can come explore that are dangling down. It's sort of an underwater environment with various kelps and lights. So it's meant to just be an immersive environment and completely transform what is a concrete and brick wall environment into something very organic and fluid. So we were working with her on building that. Across the street in front of Development Services where that recessed entrance is. And so they are building essentially what will look like a laboratory. They'll be in lab coats and you'll see these various screens and you can put in various prompts of descriptions of a cloud and it will create a cloud with their AI and people's input to come up with them. So that should be fun to play with and very topical at the moment. Indeed. That's it. So we just wanted to update you and happy to entertain any questions.
Well, I'm super excited.
I have a question. Blue and yellow seating that's going to be in Lytton Plaza. What is the material made of?
Plastic. I think it's basically a type of plastic that gets inflated early in the night. It may need a couple of boosters, but yeah, because we don't want to have a generator blowing the entire time. So it's an inflatable.
But it can still sustain, someone can sit on it?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, actually the piece is interactive and when someone a visitor sits on the sculpture, it will react and change color. So that was sort of the response of the artists.
Great, thank you so much. Well, maybe we can conclude the current non-action item first. So do we have any more comments about Code Art 2023? Okay, no, okay. It looks like we have a member of the public who wishes to speak in the commission. And so the Jasmine Aber, you have 3 minutes. The floor is yours.
And the microphone.
Thank you. General question on the non-action items, really exciting what's happening under interactive art you have lined up here. My general question is, how has basically the selection process and how it's changed this year compared to other years? And also deadlines, because I see there are some returning artists, and I bet there are millions who would give an arm and a leg to be given the opportunity. And I think those are my main questions. The selection process over the years, how has it changed? And is there anywhere, I'm sure there's somewhere on the website to find out when the applications go. And I guess that's it. Those were my main questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next non-action item is the Public Art Commission Annual Retreat.
So September is upon us. That is generally the time that we do our retreat. We've come through budget season. We're looking at the next year. And so in initial discussions with Chair Shen, staff has now gone ahead and identified a couple of potential dates for that retreat. And we're exploring potentially doing it in the downtown library, and we could do a walkthrough of the various code art sites as well. So Nadia, I don't know, do you want to share the dates with them here, and we'll follow up with a doodle poll?
Absolutely. So right now we're looking at 2 Saturdays in the month of September. And this would be Saturdays 16th and 23rd. After the meeting, we will follow up with a doodle poll to all the commissioners, just to identify the date that would work for all members of the commission. And usually we do those retreats between 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. Just to remind, these are public meetings, so we'll be posting an agenda to inform and invite members of the public to attend the retreat. The agenda will be posted. These are non-action items. So there's always great. We're looking forward, great discussion with a lot of exciting plans and future projects, and how it can, be related to the newly approved work plan. Thank you. So 2 Saturdays in September.
Great. That should be a lot of fun.
What time frame are we looking at?
Yeah, so we would commence the retreat at 9 a.m. and go till 1 usually. Sometimes we end a little earlyish. Yeah, but we just kind of give it 4 hours to cover all the subjects.
And as you recall, it's usually a pretty intense 4 hours.
Yeah.
So we'll look at the agenda and adjust accordingly.
The next non-action item is the number of Public Art Commission members. Commissioner Miyagi had proposed that we put this on the agenda for discussion. So Ben, feel free to provide some input.
Well, thank you. And my memory's a little faulty, but I'm not sure when we got cut back to 5 members. That was a few years ago. And at the time, there was, I believe the commission did some intense lobbying to keep the number at 7, and the Human Rights Commission also got cut back to 5 as well. But council went ahead and cut us back, both commissions back to 5. And then we just found out recently that the Human Rights Commission has been expanded back out to 7. And so why I wanted to discuss this is that I think informally we've talked about expanding back out, and there's a number of reasons to do that. And they've all been written and spoken about in the past. So I think this is an opportunity for us to be able to discuss this expanding back out to 7. And I think all of us know why we need to go back to 7. We can bring those points back out again. The one small drawback I see is getting a quorum. We'd have to have 4 now instead of 3. And especially in the light of people attending remotely, that can pose a little bit of a problem to get a quorum to have a meeting. But other than that, pardon me. Other than that, I think going back to 7 I think is something that we really need to push and do to get back out to 7. And simply because we have more experience, you have other points of view, you bring a lot more to the table when you have more members.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Miyagi. Just to clarify, actually, I think one of the reasons we had articulated for wanting to increase the size of the commission back to 7 is in fact to help reach quorum. And the reason for that is because we would have 7. So we would allow 3 people to be absent and still meet quorum, whereas currently, being that the size is 5, unless we have, if we have more than 2 people not being able to make the meeting, we would not be able to achieve quorum. So that's the concern, particularly during certain times of the year when people are traveling more heavily. One of the things that maybe we can consider is whether or not, as a commission, we would like to draft a letter to submit to the council to make a formal request, itemizing the points that we have discussed and you have summarized tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. And I believe the mayor now is draw a blank here.
Yes, I have reached out to I have actually reached out to various members of the city council members, and we've been having informal discussions. And so the question is, maybe we should, and I have been kind of doing it in my personal capacity since we haven't had a commission-wide action. So to submit a formal request. And so the question tonight is whether or not we want to draft a formal letter to the commission to provide a formal request.
And do we want to contact the Human Rights Commission to see how they went about or what their process was to try to get back up to 7 again? Because I know they were pushing for that. And when both commissions were going to be cut back, we tried to I was chair at the time, and I tried to contact the Human Rights Commission, and I didn't really get any response from them to form a united front to go forward to keep the membership at 7. But I think if we do contact them and see what their process was to to be expanded back out to 7 might help us in what we want to do.
I think that's an excellent point. My understanding is, based on previous discussions with the various council members, and in fact, I think one of the council members had responded when I had, submitted our request to be considered, for the city council to visit and make a decision to expand the size of the commission for both the PAC as well as the HRC, being that the decision to reduce the size several years ago impacted both commissions at the same time. At the time, I learned that it was because the HRC had independently lobby the various council members. And so I was advised that, we should also reach out to council members to discuss. And I believe the council's understanding is that every commission has a different set of requirements, and therefore maybe the size of the commission should be tailored to the particular commission. So my understanding is they wanted to make these decisions individually, even though initially they had made the decision sort of impacting both commissions at the same time.
And I believe the commission did have a position paper on why to keep it at 7. And maybe that's a starting point of our letter to the council. And do you think if we reach out to the individual council members, that would help as well?
It may, I think it may, but the other thing I had heard was maybe to reach out to different staff members to kind of understand how decisions are being made, and the best way to submit our request.
And are the 2 council members still on the council that were members of that subcommittee that were, I think it was DuBose and Carmack? Are they still on the council?
Cormac is not. Du Bois is.
Okay.
Mm.
'Cause those were the two on that subcommittee that recommended that
Oh,
both commissions be cut back to 5.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I see.
I do have a question though, because at one time I know there was some challenges of getting people on commissions. But is there a requirement for city council that if people if there are 7 spots or 5 spots or how many spots on a commission, that all of those have to be filled? So they have to, whoever they're interviewing, they have to get enough people on the commission, or?
It's in the Muni code, how many people are in that body. And that was one of the reasons, as I recall, that was initially given, that sometimes recruitment can be really challenging for some of the boards and commissions. I will share, it has not been a challenge for Public Art Commission. We've generally had a lot more applicants than we've had slots in the past.
But all the slots have to be filled. Right? Sorry.
Yes, it's part of the Muni code. So sometimes if they don't have enough applicants or qualified applicants, they will extend the call so that they have enough.
Thank you for clarifying.
Why do the different commissions have different requirements about commission size?
From what I've heard, it's because the responsibilities, the workload, and the nature of the work we do are different. And so some commissions just have much more intense requirements. So for instance, I was recently at a commission chair meeting with various council members, and they were talking about how difficult it was for their commission to come together and create the work plan. Whereas for us, it didn't seem as taxing. So I think depending on the commission, the requirements may be different.
Well,
Thank you.
I think part of that work plan really is with staff and how well you work with staff and how staff does all that work. And I think that really makes it easier for our commission to do the work plan. Now, and I think this commission, with everything that, especially in the last few years that's happened, does so much work that I think going to 7 just makes sense to do that. So, and I don't know if we want to form a subcommittee to explore this or write a letter, or do we just send comments to you or actually the staff to collect, and then for the letter that we want to send out? And when do we want to send the letter out?
If we are all in agreement to put together a letter, I think what we can do is draft that and bring it back at the next meeting for everybody to review and sign off on, and then we can submit it officially.
Do we want to have a deadline for that? Do we want to have a deadline for that by the next meeting or
So I think what we should have is first a consensus on whether or not we want to have a written letter for a formal request to the city council. And if we do, then, I think we can undertake, individually, or is very depending on who's interested, kind of work together to draft the letter and then bring the letter back to the commission as a whole for everybody to review, and then sort of sign off on it before we submit it to the council.
Okay. So we're looking, this is July, September, October, we're looking to possibly get the letter out.
Yeah, I think that can work.
Okay. Yeah, because we're kind of hamstrung by meeting monthly.
Yeah.
So, and then I think, like I said, that we send any comments to Elise and then she can collect them, and then we're to staff and then send them to you.
Sure.
And then we can find that position letter that we sent out originally. That
Right.
might be a good starting point.
That would be great. That would be great. Well, that was very good input. Thank you very much. And do we have, next item is, do we have any public letters?
There were just a couple in the back of the packet. It's an exchange between one individual and staff, but it's a public letter, so it's in the packet.
Do we have any questions, comments, announcements, or future agenda items by the various commissioners? If not, I would just clarify one thing, which is future agenda item, just to clarify, to take away from the discussion for a number of public art commission members is for us to prepare a letter and then at the next meeting, present it to the full commission for review and approval for submission into the city council. Okay. And since we don't have any additional item, the meeting is adjourned. Happy Thursday.